So in this video we will be looking at sculpting some terrain inside Unity. And before we even get started, I want you to go and download two packages that we have to use. The first one will be some textures to the ground, and the second one will be some trees and bushes. They are both free to use. I will put the link in the description to this video, but if I go to my window here and to package manager, I can go to my assets, so it's this button, and I already downloaded these two packages. So the first one is this tree collection pack from 2017. It is a quite old package, but it's fine to just go and demonstrate how to use it. I can go to this view in asset store, and it's this package, so you can just go and say add to my assets and go and say open in Unity and go and just download it. And this will be the second pack that we have to go and download. Terrain sample asset pack. It do have a lot of textures, and it also have a lot of brushes to go and sculpt the world. So again, go and add this and open in Unity and just download it. And once they're downloaded, you just want to go and say import them to the project. So I'll just go and do that with both package. When you get this warning, you just want to go and say install/upgrade. So the installation here will take some time. I'm almost up at 2 minutes right now, but it's also a big package. It's like 1.6 gigabyte. When that is done, you get this import Unity package, and you can see here you get some materials, you get some models, and you get some prefabs also. And as you can see here, we also get some terrain brushes. So let's just go and say import to everything here. And I'll also go and import the tree collection pack. So when they are installed, we can go and close the package manager, and then we will go and right click in our hierarchy, and we want to say that we want to insert a 3D object, and it will be the terrain. So as you can see, I just turned the camera here so you can see how big it is, but it's really up to you how big this should be. And as you can see right now, it's not actually in the middle of our game here. So let's say that we want that it should be in the middle. So the center in here should be right here. So to decide the size of this plate, we have to go to our terrain here. When we have clicked the terrain, we do have a terrain component on it, and then we can go and click on this. It's like a little settings icon here, and also says it's terrain settings. So click that one and scroll a bit down. Then you will see here the terrain width and the terrain length. And I do think that 1000 and 1000 is okay in this example. So I'll just let it be like this. But then we know the size is 1000. So when we say up here in the position, we could go and say minus 500, and also in the z-axis here, we say minus 500. Then it should be in the middle of our game now. So let's say that we want to add some grass to the whole field here. What we can do is to go to this one, paint terrain. And when we're inside the paint terrain here, we can go and say edit terrain layers. So click on this one and say add a new layer. And because we downloaded the terrain package, we have all the kind of terrain that we could go and put in. You could also put snow and sand and rocks, but I'll just go and try with some grass now. So let's try this one, and we have to double click it. So when you're building terrain like this, it might be a good idea to have like a character where you can see the scale. Because if you look now, if we just go and zoom in a bit here, like this, you can see this grass doesn't really look so good because it just looks like some squares that is the same. So to fix this, you want to go and click on the terrain layers here. So the actual terrain that we put in, because then you get a lot of options where you can go and adjust the size. So in this case, I want to put it to 8, I think. And now you can see it's scaled up to look a little bit better. But again, you have to put a character in here to see how big is the grass compared to the actual character, so that it looks as good as possible. So I just zoomed out a bit, and you can see the cursor here is very huge right now, the brush that I'm using. So I can go down here and go and say that the size should be much smaller. It is better to handle. And all these things is of course depending on how you want your terrain to be, because if you want to go and make like a huge hill over here, you can go and scale up the brush and just make it in one go. But right now we're focusing on textures, so I just want to go and make it small. And let's say that we want to make some mud here on the ground or in the grass. Then what we can do is to go again to this edit terrain layers and say add a new layer again. And then let's go and say we have a muddy terrain layer here. So go and double click that. So when I choose the mud layer here, we can go and paint just like this. And again, you can see it's a very small texture. So you might want to go and scale it up again. And it might not look that pretty because it is a repeating texture. But you have to remember that we are very high up right now. And the scale is maybe a little bit too big also. But when you have your character, you can go and compare it. And when you also have a character, and if you have like a third-person game, you will not see it that much that it is a pattern when you stay on the ground. So the next thing I want to look at is how we're going to create a small hill. You can of course also go and make mountains. So you need to go over in this terrain area again. And instead of the paint texture, we want to go and say raise and lower terrain. And if we take a look at the brushes, we got a lot of different brushes that you can go and test out. So for instance, let's go and test this one. Make the brush size a little bit bigger here, because it is a much bigger area that we want to affect. So if I just go and click, you can now see we have actually some hills here. It's maybe a little bit difficult to see, but we do have some terrain. And you can of course go and increase the terrain by clicking again and again and again. And at last you do maybe have like a small mountain. So to actually go and master these brushes and how to create terrain, you just have to go and try it out for yourself and practice a lot. And if you go and take another brush, for example this one, and let's just go and make it a little bit smaller, then you can go and hold shift and click, then it will go and lower the terrain instead. So you can see I can go and hold shift and click on it a lot of times. So the last thing I want to show you is how you're going to add trees and bushes to the terrain here. So it is this button up here where we say paint trees. And right now when you come in here, you can see trees. There's no trees defined. So let's go and say edit trees and add a tree. And then you want to go and click on this tree prefab here where it says none, because we have to go and choose a prefab. So if I just scroll a bit down, we have a lot of different trees. I'll just go and pick one, look like a palm tree. So let's go and double click it and say add here. So when you have the tree here, you can go and set the brush size. So it will just be the circle here. If I put it a little bit higher, you can see we have a big circle now. And then you can go and say how dense should these trees be placed. So if we set like 100, we'll just go and fill all of it that it can. So it looks a little bit weird, this tree. I'll just go and remove them again. And they were also way too big to this map. So you can go to the tree height here and go and scale it down, and then you can go and place them like this. Again, you want to go and take the tree density if you don't want that many, and you can really go and play around with it. So right now you can see we have this random that is put on, and what it means is that you can actually go and drag this, so it will go and make height between this size and this size. So you can see right now it will just be random how it places it. You can also get some color variations down here. It might be a little bit difficult to see, but some of the trees is actually a little bit darker than some of the others. So what you can do is that you can set it to 1. And then you can see when we place some, you actually get some trees that is completely dark. And you might also get some that is very light. There is also a final thing you can do if you have like a whole plate where you just want to put trees on the whole plate. You can go and use this mass place trees. And you can see it will go and use this script called place tree wizard. And you just have to say how many trees do you want. So this is like 10,000. I'll just go and say 500 for now. And then it asks, do you want to go and keep the existing trees on the plate? And I'll just say it's okay. So I'll say place. And now you can see we have trees all over the place here, or all over the terrain that we put here. So that might be helpful if you're going to make like a forest with a lot of the same trees. You can of course go and mass place again with a new tree. So just go to edit trees here and say add tree, and go and add another kind of tree, and then say mass place this tree again, just 500, and say place. So it's like a square bush or something. So what we created here is not that pretty, but I hope you could use the introduction to all the tools so that you're just able to go and sit and create your own game and your own terrain that might look a little bit better than this. But thank you for watching, and go and have a nice day. Bye.